Over yourself. Hi, welcome to the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast, the place where you come to stop feeling like shit about not doing the things that in your business that you probably don't need to be doing anyway. One of the things that I've learned over the last 5 or 6 years as a business owner is that a great many of the things that I gave myself so much grief about not doing, or that I did because I felt like I had to or felt like I should, I didn't actually need to. I was able to eliminate so much from what I was doing in my day-to-day life when I simply let go of the idea that everything that I had heard, learned, or thought, or been told was true, right? Once I let go of that and realized that, you know what, just because I read something, learned something, did something, doesn't mean that it's true, and two, doesn't mean that it will work for my business. And that was so freeing for me because it made me realize that my business is in fact unique, just like yours, just like everyone else. Hi, LaFern. Hello, Paula. Good to see you guys. And that because our businesses are unique, we need to have the freedom to, what's the word I'm looking for? Alex is on the phone out there, and he's a little bit louder than usual. So I'm trying to, I'm trying to find my focus. So apologies if I seem a little distracted. Yeah, we need to be able to actually have the flexibility to be able to use the things for our business that work for us, toss the things that don't. And now one of the issues is for a lot of us is that we think that they're like when we first start our businesses, we're given this list of things that we need to do, and we believe that those are the things that we're supposed to do. So we just keep adding on them, and adding on them, which totally ends up making us feel like we have to do all of the things. So the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast was created so that you could let go of some of those things. And each podcast will talk about one specific area of things that I feel like we've been told that we should be doing something that I think is a myth or is not something we need to hold on to, or maybe it's something that's worth massaging out and thinking a little bit more about. So that you can sort of listen, get your ideas, and decide what you want to keep, what you want to let go of, and figure out how that fits into your life. So today, I actually wanted to revisit something that I talked about hi Christy, where did I talk about it? When did I talk about this? I talked about this many, many times, but oh good grief, 72 weeks ago, so that would be like a year, September 2020. Okay, so that's when I first made this image, but I know that's when I first posted this, but I've been thinking about this for a while. And I wanted to revisit it because I think it's a very important part of the business perspective and how we approach the things that we do, making money, our customer acquisition, how we feel about ourselves when things work or don't work, and the general overall process that one goes through as a business owner. Like there's a journey that we all go through as a business owner. Last week we talked about the user journey. I think technically this week is like the business owner's journey, right? I really should have maybe we'll just name the podcast The Business Owner's Journey. The title that I have on Facebook, that's totally wrong. We're going to go with the business owner's journey. Because the business owner goes on the journey of their own. And if you don't know what part of your journey that you're in, then you don't know what tools you need, right? So think about it like almost like a triathlon, which I've never done a triathlon, but I know that you have running, biking, and swimming, right? And you need to have different tools for each one. So my old boss, she did them quite a bit. And, there's like a whole thing that you do to like make sure that you're ready and you can like have the best time, like just getting your clothes off quickly, getting in your wetsuit, whatever the things are that they do. Like, I don't know, because I don't do them. But for each section, you need a specific set of tools, and taking the bike into the ocean isn't going to help you, right? So like if you get to the swimming part of the triathlon, it's like, okay, here I'm at the ocean, I'm going to take the bike in there. You'll drive the bike in there, and like everyone will be looking at you like, what are you doing? And you will get there, and then you'll be like, I don't understand. Well, I'm cycling on the bottom and I'm not moving, right? And you won't win. And I don't even know if you'll be able to complete it, right? Because you didn't have the right tools. And one of the things that over the last few years, it's become really evident is that there are different stages to business, 3 specific stages to be specific. And depending on which stage you're in, you need different tools. You're coming upon different challenges. You are going to have different resources, and you're going to want to do different things because you're in a different stage of your business. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what that journey looks like, how you get there, what some of the challenges are that you're going to face when you're in a particular stage, and how to overcome that. With that, what I would recommend that you do as you're listening, and I will go over this again when we start recording, is really think about what stage you're in, and have you been looking for solutions that maybe are not stage appropriate. Okay, like not, and I only say not stage appropriate in that they're not actually going to help you. They're just going to be a pain, make you feel guilty, make you feel bad, ultimately maybe cost you money. But really, there's something that it's something that you feel like you should be doing because you see someone else doing it, but really it's someone who is in a further stage than you. Okay, hello, Jessica. Hi, Mark. Jessica, how are you feeling today, dude? Are you feeling better? Hello, Colleen and LaFern. All right, we're all here. Okay, so let us get going on the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. Let me get the notes out. So just for those of you who have not been on the live recording before, what I do is I go live and then I kind of, boop, and then I'm going to do the talking. And then after I'm done doing the talking, I'll come back. And while I'm talking, feel free to ask any questions that you have. Talk amongst yourselves, whatever. Keep it flowing, right? And then I will come back and participate afterwards. I just realized though that I don't have a Kleenex. So we're going to need that because allergies and all of that. Seriously, it's snowing outside, like ridiculously cold. And yet my allergies, I think it's the dogs. We need to give the dogs a bath. Except we have no groomer that's taking new dogs, so that's a problem. Alrighty. Okay, so we're going to talk about the business journey. This is actually really fun because for me, understanding the business journey was one of the first things that helped me to realize that why I was stuck. Because I was like pushing myself up against this wall, trying like, oh my God, I'm struggling so much, right? And what had happened was I didn't realize that I was transitioning between one stage and the next, and that transition period is extremely challenging. And as a result, I was grinding my wheels. I didn't realize that that's what I was doing because I didn't realize I had moved into a different stage. I was actually in denial that I had gone into a different stage, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that because that's actually super, super important. Dude, is there really a national groomer shortage? Because I believe you. Because I'm telling you, I called every groomer here and I don't want to groom my dogs. Like, there are 3 huskies. Like, seriously, Christy, can you come to Boston? I mean, I know you're like 100 months pregnant and everything, but obviously grooming my dogs is the highest priority, right? Okay. Okie dokie. So here we go. We're going to hit the road on this. Oh, and I also have a really cool image for this that I'm going to share with you guys. It's like super awesome. I love it. Okay. Alrighty. You totally would. All right, I'm recording this because I'm actually recording this. Lara is going to be so pleased. All right. I always hate the intros. It's like so hard. Okay. But I do like doing it that there's people here because it's like, then like, this is what everybody does when they start podcasts. Like I've done so many podcasts now and like I've had it happen a lot of times. Like, sometimes I'll stop the podcast and be like, wait, I've got to start again. I did that with Roxanne. Okay. Hello and welcome to Hello and welcome to this episode of the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. This is the place that you come to start feeling good about your business again by letting go of all of the things that you think you should be doing but really don't want to do anyway. Or letting go of a lot of the business junk in your life that's accumulated over the years because someone at some point told you that you should do it, and even though you don't want to do it, you do it all the time, but you really hate doing it. We can help you get rid of some of that stuff too. The key thing about running a business is that over the years, a lot of people have come up with a lot of ideas for what it takes to run a successful business. But the truth is that each of us has a unique business with unique needs that lives within our own unique framework, right? And especially my audience who is chronically ill, neurodivergent, we struggle with things. You have ADHD, you have fibromyalgia, you have stuff in your life that keeps you from having a quote unquote normal framework for which a lot of these trainings and rules were created. So the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast came out of an experiment really that I have been doing over the last 5 years with many, I guess it's a successful experiment at this point, with many of my clients, with my friends, with my colleagues, with business owners, where we are working on building our businesses a different way, where we are working on building our businesses in a way that allows us to live our lives exactly the way we want to and do the things that we know are important for our business while also being able to discard the things that we don't want to do without guilt and without anxiety. Because the truth of the matter is, for a lot of us, we just don't do these things anyway, and we carry the guilt with us. And ultimately, that's what this podcast is about. It's about letting go of the guilt because some of the things you're not going to be doing anyway. Today is not really so much about what you should or should not be doing as much as I wanted to share with you a framework that I found very helpful as I was growing my business and have used it as a tool with my clients because usually when my clients find me, they find themselves in the transition stage between two particular stages of business, is this idea of the 3 stages of business. So there was a moment, I don't remember I don't remember when exactly, where I realized that there are 3 stages to all business owners. So like when you start a business, you don't realize this is happening, but you're taking a step on a journey towards business ownership. And that journey has a distance, and there are stages in this journey. Okay, so stage 1 is your friends and family stage. It's the first stage that you go through. It's the honeymoon stage. It's the part that usually you're having a great time. It's the first 3 to 6 months, usually super exciting. Then comes the moving into a bigger pond stage, which is stage 2. And that's the stage where after you notice your sales are declining a little bit, after about 3 to 6 months, which happens to almost everybody, you start to go out to look for new customers. When you start to go out to look for new customers, you find that it's a lot harder than it was when you first started, and you're not sure why. This is the transition between stage 1 and stage 2. That transition can be very, very challenging. We're going to talk a little bit about why that transition is so hard, and how to mitigate it, and how to resolve it. And then after you figure out, okay, now I've resolved this problem, I figured out how to find new customers, I'm growing, this is great, now I know how to talk to strangers, I'm getting all these sales, this is fabulous, right? You get to a point where you actually find yourself back again hitting a wall, but the wall, it feels the same, sort of like in terms of your overwhelm and exhaustion, but it's different in that the things that you're doing are now all working. So it's not something where you're like, oh my God, I haven't figured out how to run a business yet. You know how to run the business. The problem that you're struggling with is scaling, is growing up. You've reached a point where your business has almost outgrown you alone, because there's just too many things to do and not enough time for you to do them all. So at that point, you're facing a different decision, because that's another transition that you run into, because now you're faced with do I need a team? How do I get this help? Do I delegate? What do I delegate? And that can be a challenging space on its own. Each of those stages have unique challenges. They have unique tools that you can use, and you will enter into them. So if you're in stage 1, you're not going to be thinking about hiring a team, because hiring a team that's not really what you're doing. Now, unless you're independently wealthy, have millions of dollars, and you're just like, I'm going to start by hiring a team and just tell everybody what to do. Sure, you could definitely do that. But for the most part, most of us didn't start that way. Most of us started out with one person, us doing what we do in our bedrooms, on a laptop, in a corner in a basement, right? You start by yourself. You don't start with a team. Eventually you grow into a team, and each of the steps that you go through, those 3 stages, gets you to that space, but you have to actually go through them to get there. Now, one of the reasons why it's, this experience is important to recognize is because when we think about it, right? So like when you first start your business, you're like, I'm a business owner. And then you look at me, right? So let's say you start your business today, and you look at me and you say, well, Manessa's a business owner, right? And in your mind, Manessa's a business owner, I'm a business owner. Jackie's a business owner, she's been doing it for 4 years. Cyra's a business owner, she's been doing it for 20. Julie's been doing it, she's been doing it for 2 weeks, right? So every person has been doing it for a different amount of time. And as such, we have different amounts of experience. We all know that. What we don't fully appreciate when we're first starting our business is that as a result of the different levels of experience and years that we've been in business and things that we've been doing, as a result of that, we are in different stages and have completely different needs and completely different resources, right? The difference between being somebody who is living at home when they're a teenager or a child versus in their 20s living by themselves versus when they're adults married to their spouse with children, right? Or not children, whatever, right? The needs of that person are very different in each one of those spaces. But if you assume that whether you're a kid or an adult with kids, everybody has the same needs, everybody's in the same space, which is what many of us do, even though we recognize, yes, of course you're older there, and yes, of course you're younger here, as business owners, we don't fully appreciate what that means in terms of our practical day-to-day operations, okay? So, the second reason why this is important to recognize is that if you look at somebody who is in your same business, who is much, say, you started like, say, 4 months ago, and she started, say, 10 years ago, she has a thriving business with tons of customers. She's never worried about money. She's got a lot of profit, and you look at her and she's going live every day, and you look at her and you're like, I want to be like her. I want to be successful like her. I'm going to copy every single thing that she does, and then I'll be successful. but you can't copy what she does and get her level of success because she's got 10 years on you. She has a team. She's gone through these stages to get to that space. So you are trying to jump the stages and get to where she's at by simply going live 5 times a week without recognizing that there's a lot of other things that go with that actually put her there, right? But because you see the going live 5 times a week, you think, that's what it is, so that's what I do. And I say this as somebody who actually did that, right? I mimicked what somebody else did to try to get their results. I didn't get their results, and that was what made me start to realize that there is something else going on here beyond the, I'm good, she's bad thing, which is usually, or she's good and I'm bad thing, which is usually the direction we tend to go in. Well, obviously she knows what she's doing and I don't, right? That is a very familiar place for us to go to. It's definitely the easiest place for us to go to in that it is readily available. We're very practiced in talking to ourselves in a bad way. And so when we see somebody else doing really well and we copy what they do and it doesn't work the way we want it to work, it's a lot easier for us to just be like, well, I suck, or something must be wrong with me, or people don't like me, rather than saying, well, she's actually in the 3rd stage of business, I'm in the 1st stage of business, so of course it's not going to work for me. We have different needs and different goals and different resources and so on and so forth. So this framework really helps to create that understanding, which then helps to alleviate a lot of pressure that a lot of us feel about the things that we think we're supposed to be doing in our businesses, okay? Now, before I start this and dive in to each of the stages, I want to say one thing, just because it's really annoying that this happens, but I have to say it, in that there's always going to be that one rando person who starts their business and they go live every day and suddenly they're making millions, and they bypass all, they just suddenly have a team and they bypass all the stages, and in 4 months they're making millions of dollars. There's always going to be somebody out there who does that. The problem with that is that is an exception. They're statistical anomalies. They are not the standard. However, almost all of us will tend to look at that person as the standard and be like, that's what it looks like to run a business, right? Or we will ignore all of what came before. So it's really, really important to be mindful of the fact that the standard is that this is the process. There is a process you have to go through. If you are one of those lucky few who starts doing the process and finds yourself springboarded to the top and where you're making millions of dollars in 4 months or so, that's amazing and that's great. But you're still a statistical anomaly, and be mindful of, and I've definitely had somebody do this to me, be mindful of going around telling people, just do what I did. That's great, but chances are it's not going to work for other people the way it worked for you. So that's super important to recognize. Okay, so now that we know that they're the 3 stages, let's talk about what the 3 stages are. So you've got stage 1, okay, we'll go into it a little bit deeper, where your friends and family love you and you're on top of the world, okay? This is your startup phase. This is where you have a lot of enthusiasm for your business. You're talking to your friends and family. You're getting ready to get started. You're likely sharing a lot of behind the scenes photos of, I got this today, I did this yesterday, I'm making the graphic, I'm doing the thing. You're really in a lot of enthusiasm because it's almost like Christmas. You're creating something new and brilliant, right? Now, by the fact that you're doing that in and of itself is creating enthusiasm for your business among a warm market of people. So the warm market is your friends, your family, and their friends and family. So we're usually 1 to 2 degrees of separation. It doesn't go much further than that. So we're talking about a very small group of people. If you're somebody who has a huge network, then it might be a little bit bigger. But generally speaking, we're looking at a smaller group of people than you'd want to be your full customer base in the long run. So this is a very safe place to get started because these are your friends, they're your family, they are already amenable to you, they already think highly of you, they already like you, so they're more likely to support you, right? So this is a great place to cut your teeth on business, okay? So during this time, you're learning about your product, okay? You're learning about the things that you like and you don't like in your business because you've never been a business owner before, so everything that you're doing is new. You're learning quote unquote all of the things. You're deciding about pictures and backgrounds and colors and branding and graphics and the products that you're going to carry and how you're going to sell and your shipping, and there's just a lot of logistical things and a lot of momentum and movement as you get started in the first few months, right? And your audience, your warm market who loves you, is being carried along with your enthusiasm, telling them the stories and how happy and excited you are, okay? So usually during this time, you can actually just post on your business page and get a sale, post in your group. You can just kind of post and you'll get a sale, and your community will support you in that time, right? Now, you may see some strange people buying from you, people that you don't know. Those will usually more likely be friends of friends, stuff like that, close in your network. But there will definitely be some strangers that buy from you during this time, and that's going to make you feel really confident. That's great. That's exactly what you want to have happen, right? So, what's great about this is that this is a really great honeymoon period, and it's a great time to fall in love with being a business owner. I remember when I first started my business just like this, I went through this exact same period, this phase. I went through the same phase when I started my second business too, right? So you go through it. This is part of the process. It's super fun. It's super great. And then you just feel all the warm and fuzzies, okay? And you feel good because a lot of people are buying from you, even if they're your friends and family. And I really want to stop and pause before moving forward and say that there are a lot of people who will disparage business owners who only sell to their friends and family and say, well, you don't really have a business if you're only selling to your friends and family. And whereas if you're having a friends and family be your customers as your long-term plan is a very bad idea, right? Like you don't want them to be your sole source of income for the long term. Absolutely, that is not a business. When you are in the initial stages of your business, that's to be expected. Like that is your warm market. That's totally fine. That is exactly what you want to be doing. The key is to recognize that they will not be your customers forever, and that at some point they will have given you all the money that they're going to give you. So let's say, for example, you're a boutique owner. I was a boutique owner and I sold clothes. And so people would come, they'd buy clothes. But after a while, they had enough clothes from me, right? So they weren't spending the hundreds of dollars every month that they were spending before. They were only spending like $50 here and there to like maintain their closet versus building a closet, right? There's a difference between the two. So once your friends and family get to in your small community that you've already tapped into, once they get to that stage of maintenance, that's when you start to see your sales decline, because it's not that they have abandoned you. It's just that they've used all of their discretionary income on you already. Now they're maintaining and they have other things that they want to put their discretionary income to, right? So now they're moving on, but they're still supporting you in as much as they can, but it's not what it was before, and it's not getting you the income that you needed before. So this is usually when business owners start to panic, start to feel anxious. What is happening? Okay, so what's happening is you are transitioning between stage 1 and stage 2. Okay, so stage 2 is the space where you're moving into a bigger pond and trying to find new people outside of the friends and family network because you've already hit the edge of that warm market. Okay, so what's really funny is that as I was preparing for this, I realized that, and you'd think I would have thought of this before, but what I realized was that our entire lives as business owners is really just selling to your warm market and then extending your warm market, selling to your warm market and extending into a cold market, extending. That's it. That's all we do is sell to the warm market till we hit the edge and then keep going, right? You don't run into a problem after a while because you have enough seeds out there growing and you have enough irons in the fire that something will always be coming out. But when you're first starting and you're building the system of planting the seeds and getting things started, you will keep coming up against the edge of your warm market that then you need to push out of. That there's going to be a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of a resistance there. So when you find your sales going down, right? If you find your sales going down, about the 3 to 6 month mark is usually when this starts to happen, and you're having trouble getting new customers, this is usually the transition period. Now, the reason why people struggle so much during this transition period where you're looking for strangers with no knowledge of you or your product or service is that marketing to strangers is very different to selling from friends and family, in that where if your sister says to you, here, buy this mug, you buy the mug. She'll be like, here, you'll love this mug. It's the best mug ever. It's the greatest mug you'll ever have. It's so fun. It changes colors, whatever. You're going to buy it because your sister told you to buy it. You're like, okay, sure, no problem. I'll buy it, whatever, right? Because you trust her so much to buy it. But if a stranger on the street walks up and shows you that same mug and says, here, buy this mug, and uses the exact same words your sister did, buy this mug, right? My sister got me to buy one of my first dresses by saying, from her saying, buy this dress, Vanessa. And I said, okay. Because she told me to. My sister would tell me to buy a cup. I'd buy it. But if a stranger walked up to me and said the same thing, I'd say no. Okay? And so the thing to keep in mind is that you are no longer talking to your sister. You're no longer talking to people who already know you. You're talking to strangers. So the issue that you're running into, almost everybody runs into this, is that they talk to the strangers the way they would talk to their sister. So let's imagine that you're selling only to your family on your business page and your personal profile. The post that you make that says, new overalls in stock, and that's it, and with a picture of the overalls, right? Your sister, if she wants them, will call you, will message you and say, where do I get these? What do I do? How do I, what's going on? Just all you had to do was post it and just say that. If you make that post when you're in stage 2, you're not going to get any traction. The only person you're going to get traction from is your sister or someone else who is already part of that earlier market. That's like your the friends and family group, not the stage 1 group, not the stage 2 group, because you're trying to sell to stage 2 people as if they were stage 1. Okay. And stage 2 people are strangers. They're not going to buy like that. So one of the key things that you want to do here, this is how you resolve the stage 2 issue, is you have to figure out who your target market is. You need to know exactly who you're talking to, why they want to buy your product, what problem does your product solve, how do you make their lives better. This is where target audience starts to become extremely important. Some people call it ideal client, some people call it your niche, whatever it is. And if you say that everyone is my customer, that's why your business is struggling. It is everyone is definitely not your customer. No matter what you sell, everyone is not your customer. And we have a podcast about that. Podcast episode 3 talks a lot about how everyone is not your customer. So you can go back and take a listen to that if you'd like. But so you have to know who these people are so that you can write things in that post so that when they're scrolling by, they see the words or they see the images and they are attracted to it and they're like, oh, what is this? And they stop the scroll because they're interested, right? But there's work that you have to do to make that happen. Simply posting the image and saying that it's here is not work. That's just announcing something, right? The work is actually marketing the product to your audience, actually enticing them, actually creating a desire for the product, actually, sharing the value of the product. Those are the things that are going to get somebody to come to you and want to buy. But it's not going to be simply making the post saying here it is. So that's really where the biggest challenge that people have between stage 1 and stage 2 is that they market as if they're marketing to their friends and family by simply just saying here's the product, here's the product, here's the product, and they're not getting that traction because strangers are not triggered by that. They don't even see it. So most of the time you're making these posts and people aren't even seeing them, okay? So the tactics that you're using for this need to change, right? So the main thing that I want to offer you for this one is identify your target audience. If you need help figuring this out, what I recommend is there are in the show notes, there's a link to the target audience training video that will explain to you a little bit about your target audience, or I would recommend going to socialstrategysquad.com and downloading the roadmap to success. It will help you through that process. But in the meantime, the most important thing that you can do is to start being more social on social media. Sell less, be more social, and that's usually going to be like a quick and dirty way to resolve this issue. Also, you are always free to ask any questions on our live, and we can ask you on the live on the Facebook business page on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, so now that's the issue that you run into between stage 1 and stage 2. Okay, so now, once you identified your target audience, now you know how to talk to strangers, right? So now you're able to demonstrate, get their attention, however you get their attention. You are able to connect with them. They understand the value of your product, and now they are interested in buying from you, okay? So once you figured out how to make that happen, and last week in our podcast, this was the podcast called... no, you shouldn't spend money on ads just yet. We talked about the user journey that actually is the stage 2 issue that really walks you through that stage 2 issue and resolves a lot of that. So you can check out the podcast from last week as well to get a little bit deeper into that for stage 2. Okay, so now we've talked about being your friends and family. We've talked about moving into strangers, using target audience, being social, and giving you some resources on that. The next and last stage, okay, so now that you've figured out how to sell. So once you've figured out how to sell to somebody, a stranger, then at that point, all you have to do is keep saying the things in public spaces where your people are, and they will come to you. You don't actually have to go dragging them. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to be like, oh my God, please come to my site. Please buy from me. Once you have that user journey down and you know your target audience, then the people, they will just slide right into your business. Your job at that point is simply to go find them. Now, here is the problem. Is that now that you know how to do this, customers will start coming and they'll keep coming, and then you'll be doing administrative work, and slowly your work is going to creep up and creep up and creep up until suddenly you're finding that again, you're hitting a wall and your sales will start to struggle because you don't have time to do the things that actually make you money because you're too busy doing all of this other junk. Okay. So now I shouldn't have said junk. I should have said all this other stuff, because at this point it's not junk. At this point it's actually stuff that needs to be done. We're going to edit that out. Let's edit that out. Laura, can we edit that out? And we'll go back to, where was I? Okay, finding a team is scary. Okay. what you're going to find is that you're making more money because you know how to do this now, but you don't have enough time to do it because you're so busy doing all of the administrative tasks just to keep the lights on. So at this point, you have reached the transition stage between stage 2 and stage 3. And that's a really scary stage because at that point, you need a team. You are now at the point where your job is to go out and find your customers. That's it. You find the customers and you bring them you tell them where to go to like Manessa.com is the beginning of my funnels, and go to Manessa.com and get going, right? You trust that your funnel will take them where it needs to go, okay? So your job now is just to find people, and then they will go through the funnel, and then you'll make the money and everybody's happy. That can't happen if you're doing all of the administrative stuff that at this point will start to take up a lot more of your time. This is usually where people start hustling again, but they're hustling in a different way. They're not hustling because they're like, I'm desperate to make money. They're hustling because there's just too many things to do and there's not enough time to do it. And they're not really thinking about the money part because the money is coming in. It's really just more about how do I balance all of these things? That is where a lot of people need to make some really important decisions. And I myself have recently had to make this really important decision for my own business. Because at that point, you have to decide if you want to continue to grow, if you want to find a way to stabilize your business and keep it small and sort of just work on your own, but that requires a lot of work on its own, or if business is maybe just not for you and you've decided you don't like it anymore. Now, because you don't want to scale up, you don't want to stay where you're at, and so you're like, I'm going to quit, right? Because so I don't want to deal with this, right? So when I came to that point in my business where I was like, okay, I have so many administrative things to do. I am not able to do the things that are actually making me money, which means I'm not able to even make an impact with people because I'm not talking to anybody. All I'm doing is filing papers and doing things, and that's not behind the scenes, and that's not helping anyone. So the issue here is that if you haven't had a team before, it can be really freaking scary to realize that you need a team because you don't necessarily know how, like, nobody knows how to have a team when they first start. I didn't. I made a mess of my first team. I'm just very, very lucky that I have a lot of people around me who are very, very good at what they do and who are very, very patient with me and willing to help me work through this process because I've never done it before. I've never built a team like this before. So the thing to keep in mind for when you're in this stage is that before you can delegate or hire a team, you have to know what it is that you're actually doing and what you need to do. And like because that's really the hardest part about delegation is, and it took me 1 year to go through because my business had gotten really, really big and really out of control size-wise. And so it took me a year to get to just slowly go through all of the things that I was doing and get things in order. And everything was working fine during this time. I just was getting everything in order. And figure out what I needed to do, what I didn't need to do. And in order to do that, I would recommend, if you wanted to do something similar for yourself, the Hustle Proof Your Life download, that came from, so it's hustleproofyourlife.com. That actually is the training that came out of the first segment of things that I did. So it doesn't need to take a year for you. I've actually done it so you can get it done in 5 days. That helps you to get rid of all of the junk, okay? Then the second part, just in case junk, because junk always comes up, so I always like to do it just to get rid of the junk. The 3-list system is critical. So that's the first part of the Hustle Proof Your Life strategy is the 3-list system. You can find it at hustleproofyourlife.com. And that's going to help you to figure out what it is that you're actually doing in your day-to-day so you can get an idea of what things you may want to delegate and what things you may not want to delegate. The next thing that I would recommend is pick one person, right? One person. So the first person that I hired was a community manager, and I've had a couple of community managers. She worked with me for a really long time, and then she is she's in her own business, and I don't think you guys know her. It's Jenna. Jenna was my first community manager, and then she went off and is doing her own business for influencer. She's a patient advocate and influencer marketing for patient advocates. So she's really spending a lot of time in that space. So I got another community manager. After having a community manager for a while, and that was kind of, okay, got that going, then I added email. I added Katie Gunther from Bella Blue Solutions to do my email. I added her last year, right? So I added her last year, and she started taking care of my emails because I realized I was never going to get to them. Because eventually what had happened was I just stopped sending emails, and I lost half of my list because I stopped sending emails because I was too scared to hire Katie earlier. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind, is that you pay a price for not understanding what stage you're in or whether you're moving from stage 1 and stage 2, because I didn't understand I was moving from stage 2 to stage 3. And once I did, I knew I needed more people. But in the meantime, while I was figuring all these things out, I let my list die and lost half of it, which is very unfortunate, but it is one of the prices you pay as you grow and you start to let things slide because you simply don't have the time to do, quote unquote, all of the things, right? So the first thing is the hustle proof your life thing. That will take care of that. And then if you need a team, so the next step is obviously you find your one person and then you just grow it slowly. If you need anyone who is for any kind of team person, message the business page, the Direct to Success business page, because I've actually put together a list of, I don't know what I'm calling this list, but it's just a list of business women who all serve small businesses like yours in the capacities that you are looking for a team for. Because I know what kind of team, I know what team members you need. So what I did was I went and I vetted all the team members already. I found them in a variety of different spaces. So if you need someone, come to me, I will refer you. And then that way you don't have to worry about finding the right person or someone who knows what they're doing. You can simply just go and get started, and that will be great, right? So that is the stage between, the problem with stage 2 and stage 3 is that we don't realize at that point that our job has now changed. Our job needs to be going out and finding the people and just bringing them to our funnel, and that our team's job is to manage the business. This brings with it a lot of psychological issues on its own, in that for many of us, when we're not doing stuff, we feel like, oh my God, I'm so lazy. Resist that urge. That's actually why you started your business. You started your business so you could make the money, other people are doing the work, and you get to sit down and eat bonbons, right? Like that's what the whole point was. So resist the urge to feel like this is you not working. No, this is your business working, right? This is what your business working looks like, right? Okay, so the what I want you to do for sort of like as we wrap up is I want you to really think about the stage that you're in. And I want you to consider that you might be transitioning between stages if you are having a challenge right now, because most people do not struggle when they are in the stage as much as they struggle when they are transitioning between stages, because they are holding on to ideas of things that they think they should be doing that are more appropriate for before. They're trying to find the new things they should do. They're adding new things on top of old things. It just starts to get very, very chaotic. Once you start to recognize what stage you're in, you start to see, okay, all right, that's the solution that will help me. That's the solution that will help me. My husband and I were talking about this yesterday. He's in IT. And one of the biggest challenges I think that we all face as human beings is identifying the right problem to solve and not jumping to the conclusion of the problem that we think exists because we already know how to solve that problem, right? So often we will jump to the conclusion of whatever problem we think that it is. That's the problem. The thing that we think the problem is usually something that we already have some sort of a solution for, because we know, oh yeah, okay, that's the problem, that's what I'll do. You don't know what you don't know, right? Unless somebody's told you that, hey, listen, this could also be a problem. There's no way that's going to come to mind because you don't know it. And so with this 3-stage system, this is a tool that you can use to diagnose your issues when you run into a problem in your business. And so ask yourself what stage you're in. Am I in stage 1? Am I in stage 2? Am I in stage 3? Am I transitioning between them? So like if you're smack in the middle of stage 3 and having problems, right? Then you need to hire a coach. That's a point. If you are smack in the middle of a stage and you need to hire somebody and you're like, I really have no idea what's going on, then I recommend booking a strategy call with somebody or talking with somebody to just have them take a look and say, okay, they might be able to see something that you don't because they have a lot more experience in diagnosing these things. But for the most part, your issues are going to be in the transitionary spaces because that's where we have most of our problems, okay? I want to thank you for being here. Thank you so much for coming to this podcast every week and listening to it every week. One of my biggest missions is to help women enjoy their businesses more and not feel like it's such a chore or like it's not what we thought it was going to be. I think I remember that feeling I had one day when I was like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And I'm talking about this like a couple of years into my boutique business where I was like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And like this huge sense of sadness and disillusionment that comes when you realize that something isn't what you thought it was going to be. And I thought that was the end of it, as much as I was like, okay, I guess if this isn't what I thought it was going to be, I'm just done. So in my mind, those were the only two options I had. What I didn't realize at the time was that the reason the business was the way it was had to do with my lack of understanding of where I was at in the business and the tools that were available to me and the people I was listening to, in terms of like I was listening to just too many people. There was just too many voices, too much stuff, just too much chaos in my brain, right? So I want to recommend for you that you take some time. Give yourself the opportunity to sit with this and figure out where you are and what could you use for help. And then I would love for you to share this with your business owner friends and people that you know who are also business owners, because they are struggling with the same things that we are, which is, or that we are and did at some point, right? Where they are also feeling bad. They are also feeling like they don't know what they're doing. Like this isn't what they signed up for. And they also feel like they only have either stay and feel terrible, even though this isn't what you thought it was going to be, or leave and feel like a failure. And that's a terrible place for anybody to be in. Podcasts like this, and there are plenty of others, but this podcast is set up specifically to help them recognize that there is a third option. And that third option comes in reframing how we approach our businesses and realizing that we have all the control. You have all the control. You can do whatever you want in your business and you can be successful doing it. I have literally gone to the far end of the freak train to show that you can have a successful business being as weird as you possibly want to be, that people will still come. And that is such an important thing to recognize, because the more you feel comfortable customizing your business to you, the better your business is going to get. So I would love to ask you to leave. Wow, I totally just lost it there. What? All right. I know you love this podcast, because I love this podcast. This is my favorite thing to talk about. I know that I say that all the time, but I just love talking about business. Please leave a review for this podcast on the Apple Podcasts app, because that helps us get into other people's feeds. And also, I have submitted a grant to receive a grant from Podcash, and it will get us funds to be able to help take this podcast to the next level. I have so many ideas and plans and thoughts for things that we could do with this podcast that to help get more exposure. Like I want to hire somebody to make a lot of snippets of it, to get it like, in other places, like little stories, and I want to get it on different platforms. And I just have so many things that I want to do with it, because I want to impact a lot more people, because I want more women to be able to take joy in their businesses. So please, if you don't mind and you love this podcast, please go head over to the link in the show notes and leave a review for this podcast and tell them why you think I deserve the money. All right? Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day. Alrighty, I don't know what happened at the end of that. I just at the very end, and I just kind of like, but it's okay. I'm not the, oh my God, we were losing sound. Oh God, I was like, oh God, did we lose sound? Okay, we didn't actually lose sound. I'm so glad about that. Thank God. Oh, thank you goodness. Okay, so, alrighty. Okay, we did good morning, National Groomers Orders. Yeah, I feel the constant cycle. Okay, so Kim, hello. All right, I'm going to stop recording. All right, but I'm still streaming. All right, so Kim says, yep, that's where I am. I need to grow my team even more, and I need a Facebook ad marketing specialist. I can help you. So Kim, what I recommend is, and I can send you the link, go to, oh my God, Easy E-commerce, I believe it's called. Easy E-commerce. You're looking for Danielle Fewings. Danielle Fewings. So you can do Easy E-commerce. Let me see if I can find, nope, that's not it. Hold on. I know it's Easy E-commerce. Why am I? Maybe it's not Easy E-commerce. But yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to do Danielle Fewings E-commerce, and that'll pop up. Elevated E-commerce. That's what it is. Sorry. Elevated E-commerce. So go to Elevated E-commerce. Elevated E-commerce. That is Danielle Fewings. She is a Facebook ads, she is one of the smartest people I have ever met. I met her when I was in my boutique, and we lost touch for a few years. She did her thing, I did my thing, and then I found out she was doing ads, and I'm like, oh my God, Danielle, I freaking love you. She's gonna actually be on our live tomorrow, not tomorrow, Friday at 1 p.m. Danielle Fewings is gonna be live. Come join that, and we can talk about that. We're gonna be talking about Facebook ads. We're gonna talk about Facebook. We're gonna be talking about decoding Facebook. That will help you enormously. So Kim, or don't forget to RSVP. It's in the event section. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I feel the it is a constant cycle, dude. Constant cycle. It is evolving. Direct to Success with Vanessa is still evolving. Like that's, and this is so something for you guys to know. If you're not in the social strategy squad, I strongly recommend joining. And you can't right now because we're in our, nope, that's not it. We are currently revamping. But this is because that's a part of transitioning. Like as you transition, you have to take risks. There's moments where you're like, oh my God, I got to revamp. But one of the things that I do in the squad is I give you the behind the scenes of everything. Like I literally tell them everything in the squad so that you can see what this looks like in practice, right? And like other people share their real behind the scenes also. Like all the business, everyone who's in the squad shares the real behind the scenes. Like nobody hides anything. And what's so important about that is that helps us all to see that we're not alone. And that this is something that it's part of doing business, right? And when you realize it's just part of doing business, I mean, here's the thing. When I think about adolescence, right? Adolescence sucked. Like it really sucked. I was so painful. And it didn't make my life any easier once I knew that it would pass. My mom was like, it'll pass, you'll outgrow it. I'm like, the thing to keep in mind is that it will pass. And when it does, and you know what, a better analogy is teething. Teething is a better analogy. So when you're a baby and you're teething, it's extremely painful. It's so painful. So painful that none of us even remember it, right? And so, but when it's done, right, when it's done, you can eat steak. Before that, all you could eat was mashed up carrots, mashed up peas. It's gross, right? So imagine if you never teethed because, oh my God, it hurts too much. The rest of your life, you're just going to be eating peas from a bottle, right? Just this is your, here, I got to get my lunch, everybody. Oh my God, this is going to be such a great ad. I feel like this is an ad, right? I feel like the ad should be something along the lines of teething hurts, but we don't not do it, right? Otherwise we'd be sitting eating this, right? And then transitioning from stage to stage is like teething, but when it's done, you get to eat a steak. Yeah, right? I think this is a really great ad. Christy, don't let me forget that I came up with this. Okay. Katie Gunther. Yes, Katie Gunther is, you've messaged a few times. Who have you messaged, Kim? And where have you messaged? If you're talking, I don't know who you're talking about. If you were talking about me or somebody in my team, I just FYI, there are a couple of dummy pages out there that I made just to test stuff out that I've discovered some people have messaged. And I only found one yesterday. I was like, oh my God. So make sure that you're messaging actually this page that I am live on right now. Or you're welcome to PM me. If there's someone else that you're having trouble getting in touch with, let me know and then we can connect you. Okay. Make sure you're fixing the right problem. Absolutely. Alrighty. Kim, you made such a good point here, is that as you're growing from stage 2 to stage 3, yeah, no, it's not this is all my fault. I made it confusing by having too many business pages. One of my things on my many lists of things to do is to delete all of those extra pages that exist. What's funny is that like, that's one of those things that I was like, ugh, I got to deal with later. I can't even delegate this because I created the pages. So this is an example of, you know, when you look at your to-do list for each day and you're gauging what your things are, things fall to the bottom, right? So I apologize. I absolutely apologize because that's a really bad user experience. But at the same time, I'm probably not going to change it anytime soon because it's so many things. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So, this is the stage thing is a huge deal. It has helped me so much over the years. What I want to, here's how I practically use it, and then we'll wrap up. How I practically use it is whenever I'm in a space where I am just really feeling it, like, you know what I'm talking about, like that, you're like, it's almost like electricity on your body because of how there's just so much to do, right? The thing that I tell myself is that the pendulum swings both ways and that this is just a transition. This will pass. We'll get there. All I need to do is keep putting one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. I have faith in what I'm doing. You have faith in what you're doing. You believe in what you're doing. It supersedes, it transcends all of this day-to-day stuff, right? When we get stuck in this pit of sorrow, right? When we get stuck in that space, it's usually because we need to take a step back and we're overwhelmed. And that makes us feel like that releases too much cortisol in our system. And then we start feeling way, way worse. And it just becomes a cycle from there. Okay. So what we need to do is break the cycle at the beginning. And so instead of trying to figure it all out, which is what we usually do, right? It's like, okay, well, okay, I'll do this tomorrow and I'll do this, and we're just trying to figure out all the things. Like I'm looking at this fake pile of things I need to do on the floor is what I'm doing right here. I don't know. I know that didn't probably come across properly, but I'm like, all right, these are the things I'm gonna do, right? Instead of doing that, you simply take yourself out of that moment. Okay, you just take yourself out and you're like, this is just part of the process. I'm teething. I'm walking through this process. But at the other side, it's all going to be fine, right? The reason why so many of us struggle with getting to the other side is because we don't often give ourselves that space to do that. So we're always tense, always moving forward. So we almost never feel like we're getting to the other side. The actual solution to getting to the other side is just breathe. Slow down, breathe. You'll get to the end of it. I promise, right? It's the weirdest thing, but that is exactly what works. Okay, so guys, I would love for you to join us. We have a couple of things happening this week. So tomorrow at 10 a.m. is the S&M show. That's me and Syra. It is the business show where we talk about everything but business. It's for business owners where we're trying to expand our minds and just not spend so much time talking about business, because honestly, it's really boring for everybody, including us. Even though we love business, we really want to be talking about other things. No, you didn't get tagged. No, we don't need you, Christy. She tagged you because we are. I was promoting everybody. So, but you and Danielle and a couple people. So don't worry, you're good. Thank you. You're wonderful. You're so sweet. Now I totally forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, tomorrow's the S&M show, and then do not forget, this one's gonna be super amazing. Friday, the S&M show will be as well, but Friday is Danielle Fewings at 1 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to be talking about the Facebook algorithm from a almost like from a what do you need to do, what do you don't need, like really a deep perspective in there. I loved what she had to say. She comes at it from a completely different angle. We agree on all the philosophies, but the way she talks about it is very different from the way I talk about it. They're very different from the way Christy talks about it. And so I wanted to get her in here as well, because one of the key things and the key elements of business is that Facebook is only one part of your business, one very small part of your business. We have made it a big part. And with these conversations, we're going to help you make it a smaller part. 1 p.m. Eastern. And it is going to be on this page. And you can RSVP. The event is already created. You can also, there's if you look at the description in this live, there's a text messaging number. You can send a text in there, and we'll text you and let you know when we go live. Oh, dude, don't even worry about it. That's what that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. Also, I mean, like, you may be chasing a toddler, but for some of us, it's brain fog. It's like, I'll say it, and then 2 seconds later, I'll forget it. Like, what did I just say 2 seconds ago? I don't know. Okay, so but come tomorrow, because I think it'll be really helpful. Even if you already know all the things Facebook, hearing something from Danielle is just, even just talking to her, I felt smarter, just because of the way, even though, like, she was saying a lot of the same things that we hear all the time, like, here, but she just said it in a different way that I was like, oh my God, that just sounds so smart, right? And I really want us to be able to have the different ways of talking about it so that we can make sure that we're getting it from a couple different angles, all right? So Decoding Facebook tomorrow, Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern on this page. The S&M show tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on this page. And if you are in the Social Strategy Squad, don't forget, coaching with Syra is today at 2 p.m. Is today Wednesday or Thursday? No, coaching with Syra is tomorrow at 2 p.m. My God, I should really just stop talking. Okay, guys, have a wonderful day. I'm in the middle of a fibro flare. All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day. You know how I'm going to close this? I'm going to close this by doing this. There we go. Oh, this is a great way to close it, don't you think? Tomorrow at 2 Eastern. Thank you, LaFern. I'm so glad to have so many squad members here to help me. All right, don't forget to sign up for the Social Strategy Squad waitlist so that you are notified when we go live. I think, Paula, this is the way to do it. I'm just going to do this, and then I should turn on some music and let it transition out. I'm totally going to do this next week, guys. We're going to transition out.